Hey, hey, hey.
Okay, here we go, here we go. Hey, welcome to my Tuesday Jammy. Here live from the West Village at Shea Lucas. I love playing for you. This is sort of my meditation theme music. Anyway, get ready for a smooth ride. Okay, almost at the 20-minute mark. Almost at the 20-minute mark. Oh, I was taking that at a much faster tempo than normally. That is kind of my mantra, my meditation music of the last couple of months, and I love to play on those changes, which are fairly simple, but you can really go deep as far as discovering melodies and worlds within worlds. This is what I like to do. Somebody on a comment recently, I think on the last one I post all these on YouTube, said I really want to hear you play without the effects, acoustic guitar. And, well, okay, I'll play one next. But actually, probably about the first 100 of these live stream concerts, and I think this is number 265 today, about the first 100 were all without effects at all. I was standing up in the front window here, looking out over the Hudson River, and just playing directly through an amp, or sometimes totally acoustic, no effects. And it was only, I got bored with that after a while, that I set up the pedals over here such as they were, which is, as you know, or I may have mentioned this, quite a reduced number of electronic boxes here compared to what I used to go out with. Starting back in 1988 when I started to do solo shows at the old Knitting Factory, which at that point was on Houston and Mulberry Street, right next to Bellato's Italian restaurant, which is still in business, I'm happy to see. One of the old neighborhood Italian restaurants, still standing in a rapidly changing Manhattan. But anyway, yeah, that was, actually, the first show I did, I only had one. I had the PS2, which they don't make anymore for some years. It's a Boss delay pedal, but it's also got some circuitry in there. You can do octave sound on a guitar, notes, you can get the octave, and it also has a little bit of a pitch shifter thingy going on. You can dial up some interesting science fiction sounds. I don't use it too often, but anyway, that's how I started, just with one box, and made the Tom Scholz Rockman fuzz box, which was, I loved the tone that Scholz got on Boston's early hits. He was quite ingenious. And they were marketing these things. They might still be, I don't know. So I picked one up, and you could definitely dial up quite a good classic rock, soaring lead guitar sound circa, what was it, 1976 or so, when Boston hit. So I had one of those, and I had the pitch shifter delay, and I don't know, and I went out there just on a dare, to tell you the truth, yeah. Someone dared me to do a show. Knitting Factory had been in business about a year and a half. Michael Dorff had opened the doors in the space. It was on the second floor upstairs. There was a downstairs bar area too, but the music happened in a room upstairs that had a picture window looking out over Houston Street. But there were curtains, so that could be blacked out. And, some great music was made there for some years before he relocated the space to Mulberry Street into a really deluxe 3 or 4 floors. I mean, and he had a recording studio going on in the basement. I did a record there, a record and a half, and video stuff was going on. That's quite an interesting story in and of itself. But anyway, so I was dared to do a show there, and I was sure it was going to be a fiasco. It was a Tuesday night. I think it was June 8th, 1988, if I remember correctly. I got to check that, but right around there. And they left my name out of the ad in the Village Voice for some reason or other. I don't know. It fell through the cracks, so I smelled a disaster in the making, and I went and my friend Artie Uranian and Joe Guarino, who were 2 guys in production at CBS Records, Creative Services Department, where I was then working, made up some very beautiful posters for me, but not for the show. That came later. I think this was just a mimeograph thing thrown together by my friend Steve Byram, a really fantastic art director still going, who designed, actually, the essential Gary Lucas, which I have under these beautiful Dough-Fix effects boxes from Italy that I was so lucky to be gifted with on my last trip over there to play in Tuscany at the end of November. Yeah, so Steve did this package, which is still, I don't know, something, a thing of beauty is a joy forever. So anyway, I'm trying to get a new album. I don't want to talk about too much now, but there is an album in the works of a vintage nature, and I'd love to get Steve on this assignment, but I think they have their own art directors. But anyway, so I went over there just expecting the worst, like who's going to show up. I put some flyers up around the club. That was the best I could do. I tried to slap them up on a telephone pole or two, even though there is, I believe, a law in the books interdicting such activity. I don't think you're allowed to poster in the way you once were, or they'll take them down, they threaten fines. But I put a few up as best I could with Scotch tape. That was it. So, but when I showed up to play the show, which was at a 7 p.m. slot on a pretty lovely day in June, there was a line going around the block from the word of mouth. I thought that was pretty good. I didn't really think anybody cared or remembered me, because it was the last appearance I'd made on an album was in 1982 on the last Captain Beefheart album, Ice Cream for Crows. So this was 6 years later, right? And I'd done a few sessions in the interim for people like Matthew Sweet, Adrian Sherwood, and the Wooden Tops, Roland McGinty's outfit, great English band, on Rough Trade Records at the time. And, you know, they were well reviewed. I got my name mentioned a few times, but really nothing under my own name, just basically as a side guy guest. So this was a statement like that I was going to, you know, go for it as an artist in my own right. So, like I say, there was a line around the block, and I was like, whoa, you know, a little nervous. But I got out there, and I went into a trance, a performance trance. That's all I can say. And opened with a piece by Nino Rota, an arrangement of his music from the film Fellini's Casanova, one of my favorite films, with Donald Sutherland, if you can believe it, as the great Italian Lothario poet, Casanova. Good film if you get a chance to catch it. And I don't know, the rest of it is a blur, but at the end of the night, I got a couple of standing ovations. A lot of people who were friends of mine and tastemaker types were there. And then they handed me $600 off the door take. You know, I don't do door gigs anymore, but in those days, yeah, I was happy to do it, and I thought that was a pretty good payday for like 45 minutes. And I came home, and I told Caroline, who was not there, about this, and I said, I'm going to play my way out of my day job. And then I was off to the races. That's how the whole thing started. But all that is to say, if you have the ambition to test your luck or try your skill, go for it. You know, I could be cutting my throat saying this, but I think it's better to encourage people to discourage them. I think it's very bad karma to tell people don't do this or that. Because then, you know, I mean, it's just going to redouble their effort to want to do it. I can tell you various people who snickered at me in the early days, like, aren't you at a rather, I was about 36 at this point, aren't you at an advanced age to be attempting this? And that just made me want to, you know, get back in their face and prove them wrong. You know, so be careful about, you know, throwing around your negative energy towards others, because it can blow up in your own face. And I'm still here to tell the tale and laughing in the face of many of these people who shall remain nameless at this precise moment. I'm trying to be friends with the vast majority of people that I've met along the way in the wonderful old music biz, such as it is. So, I promised to do a little solo piece for you. Okay, so this is a real short version of Walk on the Wild Side by Elmer Bernstein, one of my favorite composers. They had Some Came Running on the other day. I'd never seen that. And my friend Glenn Kenny, that's the name of his long-running cinema blog. So I thought I better check this out. It's a great film, actually, Vincent Minnelli directed, and a stellar cast with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin in their first film together. A young Shirley MacLaine, who was nominated for an Academy Award as a really, heartbreaking portrayal of a floozy with a heart of gold, basically. And some other fine actors in there. And the music is by Elmer Bernstein, one of my favorite composers, although not quite up to the standards of Man with a Golden Arm or To Kill a Mockingbird, for sure. But this is Walk on the Wild Side, which he did do. Walk on the wild side, and I've walked on a few wild sides in my day and continue to do this dance in my touring capacity. And that's my joy. Although it's harder than ever in the middle of the Omicron deluge to get these bookings, and yet there are some pending. I'm happy to say, and I'll be so happy to do them. I've got the N95 mask. Caroline's been wearing this for a while. Look, I just got a big supply, which is the preferred mask these days. I'm ready for that fourth booster any day now. And that's about it, other than to say, I just heard that my friend Howard Thompson, who's a fine guy, a great DJ on WPKN, who selected the Essential Gary Lucas as one of the, well, it was at the top of one of their night shift guys' list of the best of the year. He's doing a tribute to the great Lee Perry, the fantastic dub master from Jamaica who passed away just a couple of months ago. And if you love reggae music, you know Lee Perry. He worked with Bob Marley, for instance, and all sorts of artists, not just reggae artists. In his career, he actually did work with The Clash on one of my top 5 singles of all time, Complete Control. Produced that track, and anyway, tonight on WPKN from 2 to 6 in the morning, in the wee small hours of sixpence, Howard is doing a tribute to Lee Perry, and you can find WPKN easily enough on your computer, online. I guess that's how most people would listen to it these days, but they're out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I played up there live in the 90s. I'm due to go back there this spring and maybe do a show up there. We'll see how that pans out, but anyway, I recommend them. They're one of the best radio stations in the world, along with WFMU. I don't want to slide them, or WFUV and WKCR. These are all stations local in my area. I do love a good radio station. When I was out doing Ice Cream for Crow, K-Rock in LA was rocking. I love to tune in. I heard all sorts of great music in summer of '82 when I was working on that record. Anyway, great to play for you. I'll be back on Thursday. And until such time, take care. Keep your lamps trimmed and burning. And I love you guys. All right, see you on Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.